I want to help you get your mojo back. What a gorgeous day here in Sedona. It was sunny, cloudy, rainy, chilly, warm, and now the sun's out again. And I love that. I love how fast it moves. So we are going to be talking about Jupiter. But here's the question I want to ask you. Oh, by the way, here's what Jupiter looks like. Here's Jupiter, the planet Jupiter, with its big spot, and the glyph and the symbol of Jupiter looks like the number 4. That's what it looks like. Jupiter in astrology is known as the king of the universe. And here's what Jupiter represents: expansion, publishing, and overindulgences as well. It governs the sign of Sagittarius, and it is going to be entering the sign. It's in Scorpio right now. It's going to be entering the sign of Sagittarius, which is what's called a natural placement. And so on November 8th, 2018, through December 1st, 2019, Jupiter will be in the sign of Sagittarius. Now, what happens when Jupiter traverses the constellations and enters your sign, rising sign or moon sign? Well, it's usually indicative of an expansion period. Now, again, please, if you're just joining me and you're new to me, Elaine Marolakos Edelson with Astrology Mojo and Transformational Astrology, just remember that the planets don't make you do anything, that we live in a cooperation with our cosmos. So when the planets make a move, you feel it. When you make a move, the planets reflect that in the cosmos, in the heavens. So that's why we are not puppets, and that's why we are not ruled by astrology, even though the terminology in astrology is a planet will rule a sign or a house. And okay, that's just the terminology let's update these terms. Govern. Hi, Samuel. Govern, guide. How about those words instead of ruled? Who wants to be ruled? I don't. Okay, so what's really interesting about Jupiter is that it goes through a 12-year cycle, so that every 12 years it will come back to your sun sign, or your rising sign, or your moon sign, depending on what they are. So Jupiter usually spends about a year, about 12 months, with retrogrades going forward and backwards in a sign. And so with Jupiter now ending up its visit in Scorpio sun, rising, and moon, I hope you made the best of this expansion period. Again, it's not doing it to you, but you were ready. The universe is saying, look how you can read this. You were ready to expand on something. Now, some people expanded on their waistlines by eating a lot of sugar. We don't want to do that. Okay, so let's look at what Jupiter represents, because when it moves into the sign of Sagittarius on November 8th, which is coming up very soon, through December 1st, 2019, you can expand on certain topics. Now, how do you know what those topics are? In general, Jupiter represents expansion, publishing, advertising, travel, culture, judgments, positive and negative, evaluations, and generosity and abundance, and also your need to make something real, as in concrete. Yes, that would be a Saturn energy, if we were to define it and distill it down to one planet. But with Jupiter in its natural placement of Sagittarius is represented by the centaur that is looking for, it's a half man, half creature, mythical creature. Why? Because it represents embracing and embodying the spirit of all, not just your skin color, ethnic background, religious belief system. It is about all cultures, a diversity on every level. And so during this natural placement, there's going to be a lot of people judging. The anger will come out. And hi, Galet. 1 year? Spill it. I'm all ears. Okay, so here's the best way to look at how because the planets and cycles repeat themselves because you are repeating your patterns. That's the only reason why we live in this cyclical universe. If you want to know what was happening at some point in your life, you always look back in your calendars or search your memory banks between approximately November of 2006 to December 2007. During that time frame, what was happening for you? Seriously, think about this. Go back over your calendars. Hi, Jenny. Because when you look back in time and you see what was happening as Jupiter is about to enter the sign of Sagittarius now, it's not just for Sagittarius rising sun and moon, but it is for everyone to look at what was your cycle? What exactly were you undergoing at that time? So in essence, if you had 1 year left to live, what would you stop doing so that you could engage the next level of your being? That's how I like to look at it. Oh, probably because I'm a Capricorn rising, and sometimes we go to the cautionary doom and gloom side of things, but I don't mean it in a doom and gloom kind of way. Hi, Elizabeth. And so I look back. I'm going through my calendars this morning. I was flipping back thinking, what was I doing then? Well, I had just published a book, and it went bestseller on Amazon. Now, yeah, that's cool, right? Yay, whistles and, fanfare. But then when I look back at that, I wasn't 100% happy with that book, but I did it anyway. I just wanted to know, what was it like? What's the process? I want to write it. It's historical fiction, first in a series of 13 in my series called Sign of the Times series. And it is one book dedicated to each of the signs. And so now I look back at that and think, well, I needed to rewrite it. It was not, it wasn't, you look back at your stuff that you've done and you go, oh my God, I'm cringing, but you know what I did? I wrote a book. It took me 10 years because I was also raising a family and doing this business. And then I published it. And then I went to a quick bestseller, 16 or 17,000 downloads. And I went out to brunch. I had no idea. And, it was okay. But I during that phase in my life, I looked at, well, how can I make it better? So I took it down off of Amazon 2 years later, and I started working on it again, and then started working on the second book in the series, and now researching the third book in the series. And now what am I doing? I look back to that period in time and say, well, that was focused on writing and publishing. What am I doing now? Exactly the same thing. And am I done? Oh my gosh, no, because I went through a whole editing process with my second book, 10 Steps of the Bull, dedicated to Taurus. And what happens is now I have to change the story. The standard, I've raised the bar for my own sanity. And now, I had a day of depression. No, how many years? I took 2 years to write and edit, and then had it professionally edited. Hi, Cindy. And there was so much that I thought, this is powerful. And then I put it aside for a year. And here I am back. And I'm about to rewrite it. And I'm going to do massive red pen cuts and do another round of professional edits. And really fine-tune the story. Now, what you need to look at when any planet travels through the heavens and the constellation, and the period Elizabeth is asking what we're looking at is Jupiter is entering the sign of Sagittarius on November 8th, 2018 through December 1st, 2019. And so, or December 7th, December 1st. I'm sorry. So when it goes into this period, you want to look back. In order to know how to move forward, sometimes it helps to look back. And that's why we have cycles in astrology, and that's why I call it transformational. My form of astrology is transformational. I don't get fixed on this is the definition and this is what it will be for the rest of your life, because if you're changing and making progress in an area or many areas, then the definitions in your chart will also change. It follows suit because it can't be fixed. You can't be fixed because you're not broken. That's the first reason. And the second reason is because there's nothing wrong with you. There is no staying stubborn in one position. All right. So again, if you're just joining us, Jupiter is the planet that represents expansion and publishing, also culture, cultural affairs, traveling, and that can be long distance or short journeys. It deals with expansion on a compassionate level. Sometimes it will deal with cynicism and judgment on one end, and on the other end, it deals with that feeling of acceptance on all levels for all people of all backgrounds. And so then we're going to see a lot of changes in the law. I'm not surprised now that Kavanaugh has been nominated and accepted. Changes will happen in the law, and there will be lots of judgments, evaluations, yes, on one end, but negative judgments on the other. And so, because the up and down side of any planet represents the positive and negative version of you. So Jupiter in your world, you look back every 12 years and give it a full 12-month cycle. So when you look back to 2006, actually I wrote the date down, November of 2006 through December of 2007, what was happening in your life? Were you preparing to travel? Were you learning a different language? It also depends on where Jupiter was transiting and is transiting in your chart now. And where was the expansion? Because whatever you put on the back burner, it comes back now. It comes into light and into being. And then you go to the next level with it. So if you could, as I come back to this, if you had 1 year left on this earth, what would you stop doing? Right? That's the question. What would you stop doing? How would you stop wasting your time with things, with behaviors, with people, with attitudes, with all the stuff that we compile into one compilation that equals you? What would you stop doing? I thought about this because this week I have a lot of quiet time. My husband is out of town and our child is in college. And so I've got the dog, and Coda and I are just hanging out, and it's a lot of thought in my head because there's a lot of silence in the house. And so I thought, wow. And anytime, because my husband and I are joined at the hip. I mean, seriously, we are true mates. We've learned how to get along. We've learned how to communicate. We don't always agree on everything, but it's been this evolution for me because that was one of the things I wanted to accomplish in this lifetime was to I looked at my karma and worked with different, astrologers and intuitives. And it basically came down to, I needed to look at the service I was giving to the world, the business I was creating for myself and my family, to have a child, to create a family, and to have an amazing relationship. And so I am doing that. I'm working on all those things on so many levels. And sometimes you just need a break. I just need some time alone because, right? So my husband went away on a business trip, and here I am with my alone time. And the first day was it was very weird because, you're used to a certain thing. And so there was an odd shift that happened in me. And I thought, what if my husband weren't here any longer? What if my daughter were no longer here? What if I only had a year left to live? What would I be putting my attention on? Yeah, my thoughts go to these places because I have to. I am what's called the guinea pig of the zodiac and of the planet. And if you were to look at my chart and read it, you would go, oh, yeah, I see why. Saturn in the 12th, Jupiter in the 12th, blah, blah. And when you look at these things, it helps me to explore the feelings, the thoughts, and the possibilities of the what ifs, so that as I explore them, I can look for solutions and or pose the question to help you ponder what's next. Because, if you look back, it's so easy to do this, right? You look back and you think, oh, why would, I could have had a V8. Why did I do that? Why would I spend so much time with someone who didn't support me or didn't acknowledge me? Or why would I spend so much time in a job that it was just there to pay the bills? And what am I doing? Why am I here? It's like the big question mark. And let me do that backwards because it's a mirror image. And Jupiter represents the big question mark. It's your why. What are you doing and why? And so by looking back 12 years within 12 months, and that's November 2006 through December 2007, the next level of all that was happening there is now going to advance itself with your permission, of course. So let me know in the comments section if you had 1 year left to live on this earth. You're always going to be alive, but if you had 1 year left in this body, well, not my body, but in your body, what would you stop doing? And I'm going to take a moment while you type in your answers. And I will also pull a card for the group. Thank you for showing up today. I really appreciate that. And what signs do we have? I see we have a Libra. We've got a Gemini. We have a Pisces. What else? Who else? I'm a Taurus. I'm just a tourist here on this earth. Just passing through, taking pictures. So, what would you stop doing? Your job. Interesting. So if you could do something else, what would it be? And why? You want to examine why would you stop doing your job? And to look at, okay, well, 12 years ago, this is what I was doing. Oh, we've got a Taurus, Capricorn, right with you. I'm a Taurus, Capricorn rising. So what would you stop doing, Cindy? What would you stop doing if you knew that there was only 365 days left on your calendar for this lifetime? We get down to business when we know that there is a time element involved, because we get lost in the illusion. Oh, is that a Neptune conversation? Yes, it is. Here's the card that I just pulled for the group. And so what would you be doing? We have the visualization card. So perfect. I want you to start to visualize those things that you were working on and doing and engaging 12 years ago. And Cindy says worrying. Okay, so let me help you move that Capricorn energy right now by saying the thing that you are worrying about is the thing that you think you cannot control. So whatever the fear is, it's about allowing. You have a double Taurus. You need to allow flow. The emotions, every time you feel something, feel it, express it, let it out. Even if you're alone in the room, especially if you're alone in the room, in the car, in the bathroom, as you start to express, this is for everyone, as you start to express your feelings and you start to let them out. I feel crappy, I feel blah. Okay? Because as you do that, you allow flow. It's not a happy flow, but if you back up all the crap and you get bottlenecked, then how can the happy flow? How can happiness flow if you're crammed into a tight space? What is it in Aladdin? Big, expansive something, itty bitty tiny living space. So your body needs expression. So Gallet says, stop overthinking and put purpose to action. Okay, so folks, and Samuel says, spend 3 months with my family and then go to Paris to pursue modeling and more classic music. I would stop social drinking. Okay, then think about that. When Jupiter enters the sign of Sagittarius, you're going to be faced with the same issues and same opportunities, because remember, Jupiter represents the part of you that wants to expand. Your energy is always expanding. Energy is always moving. So how can you stop yourself from expanding. You're going to get bored. You're going to be tapping your fingers on the table going, no, I have this urge. I got to move. I got to travel. I got to experience something. I have to go. I have to go to that next level. Even if you never leave your living room, it's what do I do? What do I do now? Take notes on what is your best gig? What's the next gig for you, Elizabeth? What would you be doing? And can you possibly, instead of split it in two, because I know you're a Gemini rising, can you split it in two and incorporate a little at a time of both things together? You work at your job, and then you work on the thing that you really want to be doing, writing. You work on your job, you work on the thing you really want to be doing, relating, So what else? What is it, really? Carlita says, it's hard. I may just spend time with your family. Well, with my family. So you spend time with your family now. And then the thing that gives you most joy will begin to expand. This is a causal reality. And if you believe something is, it is. Do you believe you have $1 million in the bank? No, that's a fantasy. Unless you do have $1 million in the bank. But we tend to, and I talked about this in another event, that we tend to see from our prefrontal cortex. This is all about neurology, folks. You can change your neurons and change your vibration and change your reality by a little at a time. It's not dramatic, and it doesn't have to be dramatic, but by altering the thoughts that you think the moment you're thinking them, so that when you couple an emotion with that thought, you give it an electrical charge. Oh, it's never going to happen. Electrical charge, because it didn't happen in the past. Electrical charge. And then you just keep repeating the same crap over and over again. We need to get a big eraser, and just start over. Like the eternal sunshine of the spotless mind. What would you like to start over with? Spend more time with family. Then do that. 10 minutes more a day. Why does it have to be extreme? People think, I've got a year left. I'm going to quit my job. And, I'm going to travel and then spend every last dime I have. And then what? How are you different? I knew someone who wanted to, during a certain convergence in astrology, she said to me she was ready to be, to have the revelation and to be taken off the planet. She was ready to ascend. And I said, are you ill? And she said, no. And I said, so do you believe that if you ascend now, well, tell me, what do you believe? And so she said, everything would just get wiped away and I could start over and it would be blissful. And I said, okay, so what if you are who you are no matter where you go? Aren't you starting over in every single moment anyway? So start over now. Change something now. And in 1 minute from now, do something a little different. So it's incremental, folks. It doesn't have to be so much all the time. So Carlita says, okay, 06 and 07 was a great time for you. Okay, so get specific with it on paper. I want everybody to write down what you were doing then and what helped your heart to expand into a moment of joy, into 5 minutes of joy, into a week of joy, into a year of joy, and really see where you want to take it. Because if you don't start expanding, opportunity may come and you may not recognize it because you're vibrating and resonating at an energy that produces the fear. And again, it takes for every one negative thought you think, it takes 3 positive thoughts to neutralize that thought. It takes work in your brain. So you have to train yourself a little at a time to do the thing you love. Well, I'm going to pound my fists on the table. What do you want to do? Just go do it. Why are you waiting? What is the fear? Oh, I don't have enough money. I don't have the right people in my life. I don't have the support. I don't have a thing. Okay, you may not have that thing, but it doesn't mean you can't start to do something that gives you joy. And I saw A Star is Born yesterday, and I cried like a baby. And there's so much potential that, oh my gosh, and Lady Gaga can sing. We know that, but, take the facade and the showman off and you look at the person and wow. And you know what? I saw an interview actually with Lady Gaga, and she was talking to a group of students at college, and she was talking about how she has struggled with depression and anxiety for years because of the pressure that's put on her to perform, to be at her best all the time, to do things. And she said, what she did was she learned how to say no. And that reduced her anxiety. And it blew her mind. And she said, no, I don't want to go do that event. No, I don't want to shake 1,000 hands tonight. No, I don't want to do this thing. So she learned how to say no and reduced her anxiety. So when you get put into a position where you are looking at creating something, expanding something, what is it that there's always going to be a counter thought? You're going to think, I want to write a book and I want to be a bestseller, or I want to just spend time with my family, or I'm going to go travel. And then right behind that thought is always going to be the negative, because that is the default in our human brain, because it brings us back to a place of survival. And so you might say, I want to write a book. Oh, nobody will read it. I want to travel to Paris. I don't have the money. So whatever you're wanting to expand, it's like pushing through an invisible net and you can't see it. You keep pushing, and after a while you just stop and go, I'm done. I'm so tired. I'm not getting what I want. And I feel down. So look at the moments as they pass, not to attach to them too much, because you're going to rotate through so many cycles of feelings in 1 hour alone, that if you attach to one thing, you go on a river journey that you may not want to be on for the rest of the day. And then you turn around and you go, oh, I had such a bad day yesterday. Well, why? Because you weren't allowing yourself to feel. You didn't allow yourself to express. You didn't take that positive thought and triple it to counteract the negative thought. And then we're back to square one, and you're saying, no, can't do it. Okay, no, here's what I'd like you to do. I'd like you to start focusing on, now remember, this is so important in astrology. When a planet is moving through a constellation and it's leaving one constellation and then traversing through another, that is the most potent moment. That is the moment of inception and conception. That is the moment you will feel stuff the most. All right? And then throughout the year, you start adjusting, and you're spinning in your own ecliptic around your own sun and whatever that is for you. The week of November, I'll back it up 5 days. November 2nd, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. The 2nd through the 13th of November, give or take a couple of days, depending on your sign, rising sign and moon sign, and your karma and who you are as an individual. During that time frame, you are going to feel it the most. What's it? What was it back then? 2006 to 2007. What was it? That push to move forward. That's the part of you that's saying, I'm ready to expand. I have to expand. And if you squelch it, you deny it, and you push it down, what expands instead are the judgments in you about things happening, or the need to cram it down. Like, watch out, earth signs, Capricorn, Taurus, mostly. That need to crunch on carbs to squelch the feelings, or Libra, sugar, wine. You got to watch out for those expansive, addictive kinds of energies that make you think you feel good, but then they fall away when they're done. When you're done digesting, when you're done with that candy bar, when you're done with that glass of wine, when you're done with your, CBD edibles, it's like, oh, I'm back to the beginning. So don't stop or start or take or don't take or indulge or don't indulge because of what I'm saying. It's when you indulge, have that glass of wine if you have a glass of wine, but not to numb and not to obscure your expansion. It's there to help to enjoy the pleasures of life. Great. But watch overindulgences. Watch the extremes. Now, Sagittarius sun rising and moon, also Gemini sun rising or moon, will feel this the most because of your timing to really move beyond, to publish that thing, the blog, the book, the travel, the get to the next place that you wanted to get to. So it's not that people aren't moving through their stuff. It's that when they're feeling their stuff, they're not acknowledging it. So if you could just minimize the stockpiling, then you would be able to feel more and more and more of what helps you to expand into joy and compassion and gratitude which are the frequencies that minimize the survival amygdala, the part of the brain that's reptilian that says, no, don't, fear, danger, Will Robinson. So you have to be careful and don't get lost in those things that might stop you. All right, so November 8th through December 1st, November 8th, 2018 through December 1st, 2019, the planet Jupiter that represents travel, expansion, generosity, abundance, overindulgence, judgments, evaluations, and publishing, culture, and the bigness of you is going to help you, spirituality and or religion as well, is going to help you move into that next level of your expertise, of your awareness, of your ability to take a thing, see an object, understand its value, put it to use, and then see another result from that collective experience. Okay, does that make sense? And I want to make sure that you are feeling great. What's the one thing right now, aside from everything we've just talked about, that can help you feel better in this moment? And I mean that sincerely and honestly. Do you need to meditate? Do you need some water? Do you need to stretch your body? Do you need to chat with a friend? Do you need silence? Some people are just not comfortable with silence, So what is that one thing you need that you have been denying yourself? And I'm not talking about, I could go for that chocolate cake right now, because I could go for that chocolate cake right now. Actually, a white cake with vanilla icing, but I don't. Well, I'll find other ways of making, because I usually eat ketogenic, but I don't eat bread or wheat or sugar. So, but I find other ways. I'll make my own candy, sugar-free. It's delicious. I'll make my own. So I don't deny myself the pleasures in life. I find alternate ways of imbibing so that my body doesn't go to extremes, highs or lows, because sugar can make you depressed after a while. Or if you're not exercising your body and you get stiff and you feel old, and then the joints start clicking and cracking and you're like, what the heck just happened to my life? What happened to me? Okay, does that make sense? Thumbs up if this is helping you. And I'm going to be back on Thursday. And I'm just going to take a sip. I'm going to be back on Thursday, and we're going to be talking more about your expansion as we move closer to the Venus will be still doing its retrograde thing. What awarenesses have you come up with regarding the women in your life? We're going to talk about that on Thursday. We're in Mercury in a retrograde pre-phase. What kinds of thoughts keep recurring now? You might be lying in bed one morning and suddenly, I remember a kid in third grade and this was the experience and I felt so bad. And so like memories are going to be coming back now. But remember that time frame I'm talking about, November 2nd through November 13th. That time frame is when things are really going to swirl and change and offer up an opportunity, like right on a platter. How can I help you? The universe says. How can I help you? What would you like? Where do you want to expand? You're welcome, Cindy. Okay, folks, thank you for being here. Remember, transformational astrology is about your transformation by utilizing the understanding of what the planets represent, not what they're doing to you, because they do nothing to you, except give you something beautiful to look at in the sky. I'll be back. Be well. Be sparkly. Be present. I'll see you again. Thank you. Thank you for being.